It's Tuesday, it's 10:02, and this is WCSS 1490 in Amsterdam, New York, and you're listening to The Show with No Name. I'm Bob Going with Jim Nikosha. Gavin actually had some real work to do today.
He had a really job. He had a real job.
Yeah, it was real good.
Oh, that's great.
You know, he said to me, though, when he said he couldn't be here, he said, make sure you don't forget the sponsor.
That's right.
That's right.
I had calzone the other day up there.
And we're talking about Crystal on Forest.
It was really good.
Yeah, calzone, huh? They have calzones?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got everything.
I know. What kind of calzone did you get?
Just cheese.
With the ricotta?
Ricotta and mozzarella.
Oh.
It was delicious. And I'm glad it was so big.
It was stuffed.
I had it the next day too.
Yeah. But calzone, you can generally go 2 days.
Yeah.
It's like a pizza inside a pizza inside a pizza.
I got a burger, and Elaine got the calzone, and when she saw that calzone.
Oh man. They have good food up there, you know.
They sure do.
You know, the family's been in business a long, long time here. 80, 90, 100 years, I don't know. I suppose the sponsor will tell us at some point, but we got to get the whole menu up here. We'll just have our listeners drooling.
I brought home with me too. If I didn't.
Did you? Oh, yeah, I'll bring it in next week. Yeah. Wow.
Well, if I do that, then I'll want to go there for lunch.
Yeah, they always had the best pizza in the area.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
And what's a calzone but a pizza inside out, right? So,
well, basically, yeah.
Wow. And the salads, oh my God. You never go away hungry there, I'll tell you that.
No, if you do, you've got a problem.
You got a serious problem. That's right. Go see a doctor.
Yeah.
Get one of those stomach bands.
Or after you get done eating there, you go see the doctor because you'll overeat.
Yeah. The food is good, it's nutritious. You know, pizza is one of the most nutritious foods there is because it covers so many of the food groups.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very complete food.
It's got the proteins.
Got your grains, got your dairy. Yeah. Because I'm gluten free, so I can't have the regular dough. So.
Well, he's got gluten free, if I'm not mistaken.
He does. As a matter of fact, yes. Yes.
So,
and it tastes great.
You have no excuse for not going there for pizza.
Well, I have no excuse. And you know what the best part is? If you mention the show with no name, you end up with a pile of cash on the table in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, which if you're a good human being, you leave as a tip for the excellent service you've come to expect from Crystal on Forest Avenue. Well, I suppose, remind me again later, we'll mention it again.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Because I got ice cream too, you know. Especially on a hot night like that. We'll talk about the ice cream. So anyway, let's see what's been going on. I had a couple of meetings of my charter commission. I'm the chairman. All that means is I tell everybody else to be quiet. You know, last night I interrupted Mario Goldman. I said, "Geez, I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the talk show." All right, let's see what we got here. We already got a phone call. We haven't even said anything controversial yet.
It must be a customer from.
This is WCSS. You're on the air. How are you? Ask away. I am. Mm-hmm. Four-fifths.
4 to 1. You know, I'm probably mistaken, but I thought that the mayor could not veto a reduction in the budget.
Well, that's the way it used to be.
Oh, that's not a hard rule?
No, it got changed that was one of the things that got changed in the local law last year. Everybody was told it was going back to the way it was, and it wasn't entirely, because the way it was written, the mayor, if the mayor vetoed a spending item, or an increase in the spending, or a spending item, or an increase in the tax rates or the fee rates, if the mayor vetoed that, that requires a 4/5 override. But the way it was is if the mayor puts back an increase in spending, in other words, puts back the line item the way she had it before it was reduced, then it only required a simple majority to override. Well, that's no longer the case. Everything requires a 4/5 vote, and that was something that nobody knew was being changed when they voted on it last year.
Yeah, I don't recall that being.
No, it was pretty sneaky the way that went in.
I went through Robert's rules yesterday, or this morning, early this morning. There's nothing in there about a veto, so.
No, that's all local rules of the charter. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, right, that's correct. Yep, she has 15 days. Right, and so she's probably going to put back all the increases that she had in the budget that they took out, which would increase the budget.
And if she does that this evening, then this evening they can override her veto.
Yeah, but she won't do that till the last minute.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I think they're fully aware of the process. The question is whether they stick together. If they vote the same way they did in adopting the budget, then that'll be the end of the story. If two of them bolt, then it's something else.
it was a majority. It was a 5 vote that passed the budget.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So there should be at least 4 to override a veto.
There should be. Yeah. I think it's technically called an objection and not a veto in this case, but it's the same thing. Yeah, it's a line item veto. Is what it is.
So can they call?
Okay. All right.
Can they call a special meeting?
Oh, sure.
For
yeah.
They have to
the day after the veto. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely.
Sure. It was supposed to have been passed by June 1st, so.
We've been plowing through this charter, and that was one of the issues, that we discussed. We've actually gone through every page of the charter, and boy, what a good committee this is. All 7 people are doing their homework. Well, 6 of them are. I'm just listening. They're doing their homework, and they're going through the charter line by line. They're questioning things. Why do we do it this way? What does this mean? Blah, blah, blah. And so we've had some very active discussions. And round 1 has basically just been, let's go through and see what we think the issues are, and then we'll go back. And then we'll go back and examine them in detail, decide whether we want to do anything with it or not do anything with it. So it's cheapers are good.
Clear up the language and some of the stuff.
Yeah, right. Some things are repeated 2-3 times. A lot of what we've talked about doing is just getting rid of what's superfluous junk in the charter, stuff that no longer applies. References to positions that are no longer there, and things like. Civil service things which have no business being in the charter in the first place, because all it does is confuse people, because the charter can't tell the Civil Service Commission what to do, as you know,
right.
Having served on the Civil Service Commission.
The only thing about taking things out of there that are not being filled right now, at some point down the road, some other mayor or some other council may want to put those people back in.
That's not even what we're talking about. We're talking about there's still references to supervisors, and there are no longer ward supervisors. There's still references to a city court judge when the city charter has nothing to do with the position. It's all state law now. Things like that. Things that. And all the transitional passages from 1980 you know, 1979, 1980. You know, okay, they meant something in 1979 and 1980. They mean absolutely nothing today. Who cares about the interim budget in 1980? You know? Oh well. Anyway.
I got this evening at 6 o'clock. There's going to be a meet and greet at Shuttleworth Park with Pete Broman, the man who's going to be running against Santa Barbara.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So all you diehard Republicans should be up there and get your questions in. And
another event at Shuttleworth Park last night. It was the first practice of the Mohawks. They had an open practice.
Oh, last night? Really?
Yeah. Didn't quite make it back from my meeting in time to have supper and then go up. But then it was getting dark and mosquito-y. So we stayed home and watched a couple of episodes of Cheers instead. Netflix.
They don't spray the park for mosquitoes. So
well, I don't know. I'll be there for opening game Thursday. Already this week. Yeah. Opening game. Yeah.
Opening day. What is it? A day game or a night game?
Night game Thursday. Then Saturday they're going to have the fireworks.
What time does it start the game?
I think they're starting them early this year. I got to think about this. I think they're starting them at 6 instead of 7. Is that possible?
Oh boy, I think that's the same time that the meet and greet is Thursday for Pete Broman.
Well, maybe that's fine.
It's okay. There'll be more people there listening to him.
There you go. There you go. Maybe he's sponsoring the game.
There you go. Maybe. I'll have to check with
his people.
His PR man.
Okay. The Amsterdam Reed's free concert at Riverlink Park, scheduled for this evening, has been moved because of threatening weather. They're going to move it into the library.
Threatening weather tonight, I thought.
Yeah, it was threatening weather. Yeah.
I thought it was tomorrow. Threatening weather. I misread that one.
Apparently, there's threatening weather. I don't know. Anyway, that popped up just before I came down here. So. Oh wait, let's see what else I got to plug as long as we're in a plugging mode here. Let's see.
This morning, they're probably there now, the dedication for the new Mohawk River Overlook Park walkway / pedestrian bridge / bridge to nowhere /
That's today?
We shouldn't have it.
That's. Are they going to have the official groundbreaking when they've been working on it for a month?
Well, yeah.
Oh, what the heck. Maybe somebody will come up with some arrowheads when they dig the shovel in. Anyway, Relay for Life. For the benefit of the American Cancer Society. I don't know if this is a run or a walk. It looks like everybody's walking in the picture, but then it's a still shot.
It says Run for Life, doesn't it?
No, it says Relay for Life. Oh, let's see. I haven't got all the details yet, but it's going to be at Amsterdam High School. It looks like both days, June 6th and 7th, Friday and Saturday, 6 p.m. That's what it says. And well, okay. I guess I didn't copy as many of the details as I could have. It was on too many pages. Anyway, it's a good event. A lot of people take part in it. If you're not going to be walking yourself to raise money or running yourself or whatever it is you're doing, then you should, by all means, sponsor somebody who's out there walking around. Make a contribution to the American Cancer Society through their local office, so that let's see what people in Amsterdam are really like. Okay. All right. Holy smokes, have I been going to a lot of funerals lately. You know, Mary sat down and started writing down all the ones like in the last 4 or 5 weeks that we either went to or are going to or should have gone to. It was like 18.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 4 a week for the last month or more. And we had Art Catuño's funeral on Thursday, I think, this past Thursday. We talked about him on the show. Since then, Bill Kreinker passed away.
Yes.
Former Social Services Commissioner. I worked with him out there, and a young guy. He's only a couple years older than me.
Yesterday was Jendrzejczak.
And Vince Jendrzejczak passed away, and they're going to have dueling wakes and funerals on Wednesday and Thursday. I guess Vince's is 2 to 7, and I think I assume at Jendrzejczak's, and I don't know where Cracker is, but his is 4 to 7, and then they're both funerals are both Thursday at 11.
We have Tom Jablonski, who was I don't know, maybe you didn't know him, but he was a long-time employee at Liberty Enterprises.
Okay.
He was a supervisor there. 58 years old, you know, a young guy.
Your boss? Was he your boss?
No, I was his boss.
You were his boss? No, those are the olden days.
Those were the olden days.
Wow. Bill was a great guy. His wife Teresa also worked with me at DSS. And I was DSS attorney for about 4 years. Plus when I was family court judge. Bill was, I think, deputy commissioner when I had those 2 jobs, and Teresa was in charge of adult protective, and notwithstanding, the difference in rank, they did manage to fall in love and get married and have a few kids. Real nice family. Bill was very close to Teresa's uncle, Father Polito, he's going to be saying the funeral mass on Thursday. Anyway, real shock, because he's had off and on health problems the last few years. But cheapers, I just saw him at another funeral last month. And not even a month ago, I don't think. We sat together and chatted and caught up on things. Oh boy. And Vince is a legend.
Yes.
Not only having been in the funeral home business for so many years, but of course he ran for mayor at one time. He was very active in politics at one point in his life. Good man, dedicated to the community. Always provided great service to his patrons, and I think a man much loved on the Hill and throughout the city.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
And again, another real nice family, and we send out our condolences to all. Wow. One after another after another.
One after another.
Boy. Is this what happens when we get older, or is it just there's a real streak? Because it's all, it's young people, it's all, Mary started breaking them down, and how many women, how many men, how many people under the age of 30, how many over the age of 90.
Well, I feel good when I open the paper and my name isn't there, so it gives me another day or two.
Wow. What was I was going to ask you? Let's see. We did a plug last week for Marianne Nichols, who was the mother of the Fitzgibbon girls that we hung out with, and she has moved out to Kentucky.
Yes.
And she was an institution here. We always went to all the Mohawk ball games and stuff. And I got a note from Lori saying
all the high school football games.
Yeah. Real fan of everything. And she always went out of her way to say hello to me. So I didn't realize she'd moved out to Kentucky. And Lori says, say something nice to get people to call my mother or write her a letter or something. Because she's out there with family, but she knew everybody here.
Yeah.
So
we talked to her probably maybe once a month, once every 2 months.
Good. So your kids related somehow?
My son was a son-in-law, an ex-son-in-law of hers.
Ex-son-in-law?
Yeah. Jimmy was married to her daughter.
Maribeth?
Maribeth.
Okay. All right.
So,
well, that explains that. Okay. And still you have good relations?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Every so often she'll call Elaine, she'll call me. She wants to know what's going on in the city, that she hasn't heard anything in a few days or for a few months. But she would like to come back. She would like to come back.
Well, you know, maybe we'll, slip her a train ticket and see what happens.
Yeah.
Make the big escape from her grandsons. I think she's living. Gavin and I were talking. I think she's living in the same town Gavin's son is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know what town she lives in.
When you've seen one Kentucky town, you've seen.
Yeah, when she calls or we call her, it's I'm on the phone maybe 40 seconds, and I turn the phone over to me like women talk.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we say hello to her. I'll send her a copy of this video if it comes out.
Okay.
Those of you who were waiting for the great video last week, I forgot to. I did everything right except turn the machine on. Which reminds me, I better check.
It's funny how that happens. If you don't turn it on,
there we go.
No, we don't get anything.
We're in the picture anyway. So. What happened today is I misplaced my patch cord, which I thought I walked in here with, and then turned out it wasn't in any of my pockets. So we're operating off the rather chintzy microphone that comes with the camera, instead of this excellent quality sound that we get through here. So if we occasionally start shouting, it's only so the camera can hear us across the room.
So what's on the agenda tonight? I heard Mike and Sam and Mike mentioned something about the agenda tonight. Did you look at it this morning or last night?
The city's agenda?
Yeah, I didn't look at it.
No, I have no idea. No idea. They're not working on the golf commission ordinance anymore, right? Didn't they put that off till the fall or something like that?
From what I understand from a few different people. You hear that?
Yeah, you're pounding. That's a little. He's tapping his fingers, and it sounds like. Sounds like D-Day.
Yeah, they're having a problem up there at the golf course. By the end of the season, the city is going to have to subsidize some of the payroll up there somehow or other. I don't think they're going to make it.
Wow. All the controversy just froze everything in place, and yeah.
Well,
and people are complaining about the quality of the ground.
They got half the members.
Wow.
Nobody can bring their own carts in anymore.
Yeah, that makes a big.
So that means they've got.
That clearly has consequences.
Sure. So you either got to pay an extra $20 to play golf, because you got to get a cart, or you walk. And during the day, they're all seniors, so there's only a couple guys I know of that can walk that course.
And at night, it's dark and you can't play golf.
Well, it gets dark. It gets dark late, so they can play.
Boy, I got light early this morning. The dog had me up like it was like 5 o'clock, so 4:30. It was a crazy time, and it was already bright out.
Yeah.
Well, we're approaching the longest days of the year over the next month. Wow.
I just roll over and I put the blanket over my head or pillow over my head, shut out the sunlight, get an extra half hour sleep.
I don't sleep anymore. I talked to my nurse daughter about this, and she says, "You're old. You don't need sleep anymore."
No, don't believe that.
Yeah. Says, "You old people." Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah. The older I get, the more sleep I need.
Wow. Hey, coming up Friday is the 70th anniversary of the D-Day invasion.
Yes.
And I thought I'd do something different here. Well, something I haven't done in a while, and let's read an excerpt from my book, Where Do We Find Such Men? And an awful lot of guys from Amsterdam were involved in D-Day in one form or another. I haven't even got the names of all of them, but I got a lot of names, so I suspect there are a lot more. As far as I know, I think Lou Harrower may be the last local D-Day survivor.
Really?
And I see him every time I go up to see my mother-in-law. I have to walk past his room at Wilkinson, and I've never gone in and introduced myself. He's had a copy of my and all that. But I'm sure he'd know who I was, but I just don't like to barge into people. Yeah. But I'll tell you, every time I walk past his room, I look in and I'm thinking, Mr. Harrower, I know what you did. I know what you did. And wow.
I read the book and I started to read it a second time and I couldn't. Is he in the book?
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to read it the second time to see if I could catch. See, I'm not from Amsterdam, so I didn't know anybody in the book except a couple of my neighbors.
Well, I go past the old Harrower homestead every day on my way home because it's a big white building on the corner of Northampton and Guy Park Avenue, on the Northampton side. It used to be Dr. Rapello's office. I don't know what's in there now. Well, let's see. Where should we start? I mentioned Brigadier General Alan Kimball, who was put in charge of. He became Deputy Chief Quartermaster for the European Theater of Operations. That means he was in charge of keeping all the supplies and materials flowing for the biggest invasion in history, and not just for D-Day, but for the whole campaign that followed. He graduated of Amsterdam High School, local guy. He'd moved away by that time, but his connections with Amsterdam were solid. An interesting aspect of several. Kimball got into the quartermaster business after World War I. I think he had commanded some infantry in World War I, a company or something. And then after the war, he's sent to West Point, where he's the assistant quartermaster, and later, I think he became quartermaster at West Point as well, working under the superintendent Douglas MacArthur. The Walter Elwood Museum got a whole mess of Kimball's souvenirs, and included among the souvenirs are autographed photographs from Dwight Eisenhower, from Omar Bradley, George Patton, George Marshall, who was the Chief of Staff of the Army and later Secretary of State, and the Douglas MacArthur one threw me because I couldn't figure out. I mean, I understood the others were in his direct chain of command. He supplied all these guys. But MacArthur was in the Pacific, and he had nothing to do with that. And then I read about him when I was researching the book and realized he knew MacArthur personally. He worked for him at West Point. So that's why we have all these fond sentiments from all the great leaders of World War II. I think we got them all hanging. If not, they're floating around somewhere down in the museum. Now, Herb Shuttleworth went to work for Kimball. Shuttleworth went in as, first lieutenant or second lieutenant and rose to captain. And he worked for Kimball in the Quartermaster Corps somewhere in the States before Kimball went to Europe. And the ironic thing is, after the war, Kimball retires, and as a retired general, he went to work for Herb Shuttleworth. so the captain ended up commanding the general.
Turn around is fair play, right? I hope they had a good relation when they...
I'm sure they had a good relation all the way along the way. It kind of reminds me of a somewhat obscure Irving Berlin song that was written in the 20s, I think. It was called "I've Got My Captain Working for Me Now," and it's about this sergeant who got bossed around all during World War I, and then afterwards he's got a big company, and the captain comes looking for a job. One of his humorous things. Anyway, so we'll skip over Kimball, but we'll get right into Malcolm Tomlinson. Tomlinson had already landed, before June 6, 1944, he had already had 3 D-Day landings in North Africa, in Sicily, and in Italy. He was involved in all 3 storming the beaches and digging up mines, and you know, there were. He was with an engineering group that was, you know, to secure the beaches and get rid of the obstructions, and I think on D-Day he was he provided security. He was in charge of some kind of mobile gun.
Is this Malcolm the father or Malcolm the son?
This is Malcolm Guy's father, yeah. Malcolm Tomlinson, who later became surrogate judge, and whose son became surrogate judge, and is surrogate judge. Yep. All right, so Sergeant Malcolm Tomlinson, this is from my book, Where Do We Find Such Men? Sergeant Malcolm Tomlinson's war continues. Cornwall would be their home for the next half year, and at least they speak a form of English there. Early in 1944, both Tomlinson and his buddy Garn are selected with 4 others from a battalion of 600 men to attend officers' candidate school. It takes Eisenhower himself to overrule the selection. He can't spare the veteran non-coms from what would be needed ahead. Headquarters Company of the 2nd Battalion boards 3 landing craft in Torquay on June 3rd, 1944, prepared to sail on the 4th. Hardly out of the harbor, the landing is called off and they return. Early on the morning of the 5th, they board again. They pass through British minefields. They pass through clear German minefields, though a nearby minesweeper blows up, killing several, wounding many, and sinking fast. By nightfall, they are anchored 10 to 15 miles off the coast of Normandy. Later, they watch as planes carrying paratroopers and towing gliders fly low overhead. The last plane briefly turns on its red taillight while passing over the fleet, blinking away in Morse code, immediately recognizable to all. V for victory. D-Day, June 6, 1944. Preparing the way into Normandy are the paratroopers and the engineers. Private Daniel Kloot of Amsterdam is aboard one of those planes, waiting quietly, nervously, as they approach the coast at night. The men stand in line, the signal is given, and before he can even comprehend what is happening, he hurtles through space. The chute opens and jerks him alert. It seems like it takes forever to land as he passes over marshes and fields. He hits the ground with a thud, stands up, rifle in hand, and finds himself face to face with a startled German soldier. He waves his rifle and addresses the German in a universal language. Scram! The German cheerfully obeys, and Kloot walks away in search of his unit. Fellow paratrooper PFC Harold Primo is not so lucky. The Malone, New York native who had been living with his sister on Florida Avenue when inducted is Amsterdam's first supreme sacrifice on the longest day. 18-year-old Richard Dantini from the South Side heads for shore with the famous Company A of the 116th Infantry Regiment in the first wave to hit the worst part of Omaha Beach, Dog Green, directly in front of outposts guarding the Vierville draw and subject to flanking fire from emplacements to the west near Pont de la Percée. Of the 197 men in his company, only 18 are still fighting 2 hours later. All of the officers are killed or wounded in the first 10 minutes, and most of the sergeants as well. 70% of the casualties come in the first half hour. Scared? Oh my God, was I scared. Everybody was. Men were praying, crying, getting sick. It was hell. He will remember vividly almost half a century later. One of the company's 6 landing craft flounders while still 1,000 yards offshore. The men hit the water with their heavy packs and drown. The Germans open fire at 500 yards. Another LCA is blown up. The 4 that make it through are grounded in 4 to 6 feet of water, still 30 yards beyond the outward band of beach obstacles. The ramp drops. Dantini is the 3rd man out. The first, a lieutenant, takes a round in the neck and dies in the surf. Dantini fires 3 or 4 clips from his rifle, then takes cover behind a concrete obstruction in the water. When he finally notices the live floating mine attached to it, he decides to take his chances and head for the beach. He only makes it 20 or 30 feet before being hit the first time, a shot to the arm. He keeps going. Once on the beach, he bends over to help a wounded comrade. They come under machine fire, and the friend and a medic die right there while Dantini is hit in the right leg. The longest hour and a half in his life has passed since exiting the landing craft. The tide is coming in, and the Germans are shooting at any object that moves, and quite a few that don't. I started to crawl. I tried to get up, but I couldn't. And then I got hit for the third time, the worst. It was in my left leg. His body resembling bloody Swiss cheese, he manages to creep behind a rock at the edge of his sector before losing consciousness. The next day, after the fighting has moved inland, a crew assigned to recover the bodies of the dead finds him alive, barely. After 13 months of recovery in military hospitals, he makes it home and resumes the life of a neighborhood grocer. Being General Eisenhower's barber doesn't exempt Nick Fratangelo from service on D-Day, and his future competitor, Arthur Iannuzzi, is there as well. Remember Nick Fratangelo in the barbershop in the East End? And everybody remembers Art. The son of an American citizen, Iannuzzi's father had brought him to America from his native Italy on the last boat the Mussolini regime allowed to leave for the United States before they declared war on us. He was 16. 2 years later, having safely avoided the Italian draft, he receives his greetings from President Roosevelt. He is part of a cannon platoon. Their orders are to remain offshore until the beach has been cleared. As it happens, that takes 3 days. Stranded on a small launch, artillery fire lands all around them. When you have the big guns, it's very easy to get hit, so they don't send you in until near the end. When we got there, though, there were a lot of wounded and dead soldiers. The beach was covered with them. I was scared and thinking, I don't want to die. Others didn't see the sunset on June 6th. Private John J. Schilling, 19, of Tribes Hill, a 1942 graduate of Wilbur H. Lynch High School, has his rendezvous with death storming the beaches as a member of an anti-aircraft machine gun unit. Technical Sergeant Nicholas Fody, 23, has been in the infantry since 1939 and wounded in North Africa. He had returned to action in time to take part in the decisive push on Troina in Sicily. D-Day is his last day. Garn and Tomlinson are attached to the 4th Infantry Division, whose Assistant Commander, Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt Jr., lands with the first wave on Utah Beach. In the current and smoke, they have drifted a mile south of their target and formed the far right flank of the D-Day invasion. Roosevelt personally scouts the area and throws away the plans. We'll start the war from here, he says. Wave after wave follow. The first of Malcolm Tomlinson's headquarters, company to die, takes a bullet to the forehead while still in the landing craft. They land at low tide, just as the tide begins to turn. There's a 20-foot difference between low and high tide at Utah Beach, giving the engineers a window of opportunity to clear the obstructions and secure the beach exits while the infantry rounds up the enemy. The Higgins boats soon reload with prisoners of war, and the combination of effective naval and aerial bombardment and airborne troops securing the inland routes results in remarkably low casualties at Utah. The sounds from Omaha Beach are not as encouraging. Tomlinson and Garn are in a defensive platoon, setting up 57mm guns. From behind the beach, they are able to look out to the English Channel and see an armada such as the world has never seen, more than 5,000 vessels extending from horizon to horizon, landing craft, destroyers, cruisers, battleships. Shells fly over their heads toward inland targets, the noise deafening. They follow a road running lateral to the beach about 1,000 yards. Garn's squad digs in, and Tomlinson's passes by with a bulldozer hauling their big gun. A few minutes later, the dozer hits a landmine, and the driver flies through the air, landing 25 feet from the machine. Other men are wounded, and a medic from Garn's squad rushes to assist, steps on a mine, and gets blown in half. They all hit the deck. Garn then realizes his hand has come to rest, only inches from another mine. News of the D-Day invasion begins trickling into Amsterdam about 6 a.m. on June 6, 1944. Bulletins from the recorder are posted around town. The churches open, and at the direction of Bishop Gibbons, every Catholic church in the Diocese of Albany has exposition of the Blessed Sacrament. At Wilbur H. Lynch Senior High School, a program is quickly put together. An 18-year-old senior class president, Walter Tatara, addresses his schoolmates. Today has been set aside as a day for prayers, for mercy and grace. Throughout the land, many hearts are heavy because D-Day has finally arrived, and with it will come the horrible news of tragedies of war. Right now, someone very dear to us may be lying wounded or bleeding on a battlefield. We have got to prepare ourselves for whatever news is to come. Will our enemy's zeal for the cause of anti-God overcome our indifference to God? In times of peace, prosperity, good times, how easy it is to ignore God. But as soon as we are subjected to pain, suffering, confusion, turmoil, we immediately turn to our Almighty Father and pray reverently for aid. Right now we need God's intercession in this struggle. We should be united as never before, and we should all lift our hearts in prayers, whether we be Protestant, Jewish, or Catholic. Let our prayers be sincere, simple, and uttered from the bottoms of our hearts. In that way, we will become more powerful than any weapons used in this war. Our boys will be comforted in knowing that we, here at home, are praying for them to have strength and courage so that they may walk hand in hand with God, unafraid and prepared for whatever may befall them. Students, do we take this war seriously? Do we hope for a better world after this war? Some of us do, because we realize that this world in the next 50 years will be what we make it. It won't be better unless we ourselves make it better. We must have strength in character, a purpose in life, and above all, faith in God. We in the United States are fortunate because we are a Christian nation and we can speak our thoughts without being afraid of a dictator shutting us up. Let us hope and pray it will always remain that way. Thank God for America. Is that great? And can you imagine anyone being allowed to say that today in a public school?
No.
Walter Tatara, 18 years old.
And I was 12 years old when that happened.
Yeah. Hey, don't forget your microphone. Hey, Mr. Major, what's up?
I just come to tell you a little fact that you might not know. John Traskus,
Yes.
a retired fireman,
Yes.
was part of the Normandy landing.
I did not know that. He lives on Chopin Parkway or someplace, right? Or...
He left yesterday for the celebration.
Oh,
He's
wonderful.
89 or 90 years old.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It
Terrific.
might be interesting to talk to him when he comes back.
Yep. He's been on my list to talk to for some time now, and I finished the book without him, but
He was part of the landing group at Omaha Beach.
And he was a POW too.
I don't know that. I talked to him Thursday, and he said he was going for the 70th anniversary. He's been back several times.
That's terrific.
And he's going again this time.
Terrific.
79 or 80 years old.
I worked for
Or
him.
no, 89 or 90.
Oh, he's got, oh, sure.
89,
Yeah, it's been 70
90.
years, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he left yesterday or Sunday for the anniversary.
And again, he was like all these other guys I've been reading about, 18, 19 years old, 20 maybe, 20,
You know,
21.
he's a retired fireman here from
Yeah.
the city.
Yep. I know who he is.
I worked for him at number 6 Firehouse.
Some of his relatives got in touch with me when I was writing the book, and like most things I do, it was added to the list and never got to it. Never got to it.
I
That's
just
great.
wanted to fill you in on that.
I don't know how many guys from here were there. I've come across dozens of names that were there on D-Day, you know, let alone the days after. Because then the next wave came in that were moving inland, and they got it worse than the guys who were on the beach for the most part, you know, over the next month, because they fought for every foot of land till the breakthrough in August. Where do we find such men, Mr. Major? We find them right here in Amsterdam, New York.
Right here in Amsterdam, New York.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to stop in and fill you in
I'm
on
glad
that.
you told us that. I hope we can get him to stop by when he comes back and tell us all about it. That'd be great.
He's been there several times, he told me, and this is the 70th. He said it'll probably be his last.
Yeah, you wonder, you know how many more they'll even schedule.
Yeah.
And the Queen and her husband are coming to this one.
Yes, I saw that.
Good. And it's hard to believe it's already been 30 years since Reagan spoke there. It seems like it was yesterday. Wow. Wow.
That's
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Larry
Larry.
Major, former controller of the city of Amsterdam. He doesn't brag about it. Get me out of here, he kept saying. Get me out of here. Wow.
I tried to talk him into running a couple of times.
I know, and he said, no, thank you. I've done my duty. I've done my duty.
Very knowledgeable.
The program at the high school, you know, they did the Star Spangled Banner. So the soloist was Albert Sochin, who sang the Lord's Prayer. You know, that wonderful version of the Lord's Prayer that Mario Alonso used to sing at Kate Smith. And I remember asking Uncle Si if he remembered Sochin. He says, "Yeah, boy, he had a good singing voice." He said,
Really?
Yeah. Yes. Contemporary. Here's my footnote. I've been writing about D-Day, but Sochin deserves a footnote because contemporaries remark about what a good singing voice Albert Sochin has in high school. After serving in the war himself, he takes up a musical career, and under the name of Albert da Costa, his mother's maiden name, performs for 7 seasons with the Metropolitan Opera. Yeah, playing lead parts. Yeah, and then he started with several other companies in Europe, and then unfortunately got killed in a car accident in Europe in 1967 at the age of 40. Yeah, that must have been some. And then they throw this presentation together, you know, virtually overnight. This is like the first thing in the day. And they have speeches. They have the singing, the band, the Lord's Prayer. Evelyn Moyer recites Rudyard Kipling's Recessional, and they finish up with Onward Christian Soldiers. Wow. There's another long section, which is Gavin's grandfather, Guy Murdoch, talking about D-Day in Amsterdam and what it was like, you know. Because he worked at Mohawk in the office, and everybody had a radio on their desk, and you know, the secretaries were saying, "Have you heard the news? Have you heard the news? Is he in it?" Because nobody knew. Nobody knew who was involved in the operation until afterwards. I mean, in fact, it was weeks before the first casualties were announced locally. I should mention a little bit more about Tomlinson, Garn, and Lewis Harwood. Tomlinson and Garn are not privy to the overall success of the operation, but as the day grows longer and night falls, they become more and more encouraged by the sounds of war fading farther and farther into the distance. That night, in fact, dug into foxholes next to their guns, they sleep better than they have in days. Their only annoyance comes from a lone German plane that nightly around midnight drops a single bomb and goes on its way. That plane showed up in the longest day. They only had one plane available, and the orders come in, you know, go defend the beaches. He says, we've got one plane, he's got one bomb.
I was watching a movie the other day, and it was the same thing on it. They only had one plane. They ordered they had two planes. They ordered them both to go up, and only one could fly. So.
Right. On the morning of the third day, Malcolm Tomlinson begins to move his squad for a destination further inland, walking along the road. General Theodore Roosevelt's Jeep, Sans General, comes by and strikes a mine on the road's edge. The driver is killed, the Jeep destroyed, and Tomlinson loses his good eardrum and once again has his face ripped apart, this time by flying debris. They give him an oak leaf cluster for his Purple Heart. He had previously got shrapnel in the face in Italy, in the landing, and he had a broken eardrum from childhood that his doctor father assured him would keep him out of the army. And this is his fourth.
Didn't help.
This is his fourth D-Day invasion, and they got his good ear.
Yeah.
Private Louis Harrower goes ashore with the combat engineers on D-Day and continues inland for several more days until he finds a chance to snuggle up in a Normandy foxhole and writes home to his mother in Hageman. D-Day was some experience, he tells her. But right now he's not reliving the battle. He's simply dreaming of a warm bath and clean clothes to replace the ones that are growing on him, and maybe a little peace. And he's thankful for God's peace. Like Father Welly on the other side of the world, he hasn't run into a foxhole atheist yet, and he makes sure to tell that to his mother. He doesn't know a man who isn't thanking God for bringing him safely through the landing. I suppose I'll finish up with a letter from my father to home. Now, this is so typical of all these guys who are in the war. You know, when they write home, it's nothing much is going on.
Yeah, nothing's happening.
Nothing's happening. Well, my father was in the Navy, and when Cherbourg was captured, then they sent him over to. He was in some kind of logistics. I don't know, keeping track of the inventory or something like that. He couldn't see past his nose, so you know, he had thick glasses so he could make bookkeeping entries, and that was his job in the Navy. But you know, he's still going to Normandy. Well,
right.
You know. So this is dated June 19th, a couple weeks later. Dear Mom, I'm sorry that I haven't written you sooner, but I honestly haven't been able to. This is the first letter I've been allowed to write, and will probably be the only one for a time, so please be patient, and don't worry. I'm safe and well, so there's no cause for worry again. We received our first mail in some time yesterday, and yours of June 6th was among them. I also received the first copy of the newspaper, but no packages. As yet, I have only received your last package. I remembered the baby's birthday, that's my cousin, and was thinking of her yesterday, but unfortunately I was in no position to send greetings of you, sir. Please tell Sis that I didn't forget anyhow. I'll make it up to the kids someday. I've been attending Mass and receiving communion daily, as we have the Catholic chaplain with us. I thank God for that opportunity. It's a great help at a time like this. My love to all in regards to Des. Please continue to write and be patient until you hear from me. All my love. But P.S. don't worry.
That's your dad.
That's my dad. Yeah. Wow, wow.
Well, the hour's almost gone.
No, the hour's almost gone, but you know,
and that was,
once every 10 years we remember these guys.
Yes, yes. And we should remember them every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah.
I was quite disappointed when I went to the Memorial Day service at Veterans Park that there was probably 100 people, 110.
You know, we talked about it. I never caught an announcement as to when that was, what time of day that was. Was it earlier?
Yeah, I think it was 9 o'clock.
See, I would have guessed about, I would have probably wandered over at 10 or 11 if I knew.
8 or 9, I forgot what it was, but yeah. I got there just as somebody started to speak, and it was short. It was to the point. It was. I'll tell you, everybody spoke pretty well. The mayor was very good. Tonka was very good. You know, the whole thing was moving.
Yeah.
There should have been more people.
Yeah, no. There aren't, you know.
Yeah,
there aren't a lot of people left. You know, like we talked about it last week because somebody called up and said the same thing. Who was there? And I said, "Jeepers, you know." In the years after World War II, you know, back when.
Oh yeah, you could.
I mean, back
standing room only.
Yeah, back when I was in 5th grade doing the Gettysburg Address, you know, in the early '60s. There were so many World War II veterans who were of a young middle age at that time and had the young families, and they wanted to bring their families to remember what they experienced.
One of the problems in Amsterdam that we don't get the turnout is we don't have a parade. And if you're going to have a parade, you got to start like now for next year.
Yeah.
You got to start lining everybody up now. You can't wait till the last minute because everybody.
But you know, there used to be formal ceremonies in like 6 different places, and the newspaper would be full of just the who's speaking where, and the next day what their speeches were.
And some of them, they would try to stagger them a little bit so everybody could go from one to the other.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because the very early one would be they dumped the flowers in the river and off the bridge, the old bridge. And then the Green Hill Cemetery, and then all the Catholic cemeteries had their own services. And, I've given the speech a couple of times at different places, 3 times really. One at Veterans Field, and a couple of one at St. John's, one at the churches aren't there anymore. I closed the churches, I guess. At St. Michael's, I did one here. I think I did St. John's twice actually. And my dad did one in St. Casimir's one year,
Really?
and it was great. And I snapped a picture of him giving the speech, and the flag is flapping in the background. And he's standing in front of the memorial, looking all dignified, doing it. And I've had that on my desk every day since. Yeah. It's also in my book. It's in my dedication to him.
So it's the 70th anniversary coming up.
Yeah.
Every day. Mohawks' opening day is Thursday.
Yeah.
And Pete Roman's meet and greet is Thursday night at the same time as the
And don't forget pizza, calzones, ice cream, salad,
right.
and all kinds of stuff.
Right before the game.
Right before and after the game. You're going to be hungry again after the game.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, and that would be, of course, at Crystal on Forest Avenue. Our sponsor of the show with no name. We'll be back with a podcast on Friday and back here next week, next Tuesday, with more of the show with no name.
Here we go.